friends, and welcome to episode 246 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian in my 17th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast is something for you. I'd like to extend a very special welcome this week to listeners Robin in Georgia, Amber in Michigan, and Stacy in New York. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me either on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is at LMS_United, or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. Be sure to listen to episode 224. I announce a sponsorship with Literati Book Fairs. And now a chance to hear from one of Literati's team members. Jenny Powell, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, Amy.
Would you, just for listeners tuning in and perhaps maybe missing your last introduction, would you give listeners an idea of what is it you do for Literati?
I'm the design lead of our book fairs team, so I help design and produce all of the materials that we put out for all of our book fair themes season after season.
Fantastic. Do you have a favorite visual element that you've helped create for the Literati Book Fair?
That's hard. I'm so passionate about design, but I think my favorite thing that I've helped to create for a Literati Book Fair would be our Secrets of the Sea Book Fair logo. I really geek out about typography, and I was really proud of the work that we did for that season. The logo is a little whimsical and nautical, and exactly what I envisioned for that theme. And I also really love working on the posters that we do every season. They're super fun and feature our themed illustrator work, but I also showcase a few books that will be at the fairs.
Well, and I know that when those boxes of promo materials come, it's sort of like a real sneak preview to the kinds of things for many of us. We're looking at those posters going, oh, those are some of the books that we're going to have on the shelves. That's fantastic. And I know that it's not unusual for the books that are on the posters to be, flying off the bookcase as soon as the kids walk into the fair. Can I ask, because I do not know, what's typography?
That's a great question. I might be using some insider lingo here. So typography, when I say that, I mean the fonts that we're using for our logo and that we use on all of our bookcase signage. When you see something like Easy Readers on a bookcase, the font choice that we use for that signage, we take into account and make sure that it ladders up to our theme aesthetically every season.
I was hoping I was sort of like using context clues to figure out what was it. But, I appreciate that because as a non-artist, I could spend a great deal of time unnecessarily obsessing over the font that I choose. And I appreciate that there's a great deal of science that goes into how accessible this is for even some of our littlest readers. Thank you so much, Jenny. I hope you come back again and let us know a little bit more about what Literati does to help school librarians every day.
Thank you, Amy.
Tune in to learn all about Literati and their very generous offer. Librarians who book their very first Literati Book Fair for this upcoming school year and mention the code UNITED when booking may qualify to receive a $500 gift card to Titlewave. Visit the link in today's show notes and call the Literati team to see if you qualify. And now a word from our sponsor, Capstone. Capstone is an innovative publisher and education technology provider of children's content for school libraries, classrooms, and at-home learning. Home of the award-winning PebbleGo research database, Capstone has a passion for creating inspired learning and intellectual curiosity in children, and I'm so excited to be working with them. I'm also grateful to Capstone for their continued commitment to support the podcast in Season 6. They are offering listeners of School Librarians United a very special discount. Visit shop.capstonepub.com and use the code UNITED to get $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and Capstone interactive ebooks. That's code UNITED for $20 off an order of $100 or more for both print and ebooks on shop.capstonepub.com. This weekend, I was invited to speak at Oregon's annual conference for school librarians. This journey began in May when I received an invitation from Lori Lieberman. I was lucky to get to visit Lori's school library and take in the historic downtown and scenic drive to the coast. My hotel looked out over the crashing waves of the Pacific Ocean. I am so grateful for the opportunity to be a part of this conference and to connect with the many school librarians and library staff, and especially to have them share a bit about themselves in the episode today. And now for today's episode, Spotlight OASL and my conversation with the school librarians and library staff of Oregon.
Hi, my name is Melissa Blunt, and I am a middle school librarian at George Middle School in St. John's, Portland. It's in North Portland, Oregon. And we are a Title I school. It's a very diverse school, and it's a lot of fun. It's my all-time dream job.
So tell me, what would you like to share with listeners today?
I wanted to share a strategy for getting your books back on time. And as I tell my students, on time is before the last day of school, before we leave for summer break. And if you're in 8th grade, making sure your account is clear before high school is very important in our district. So one strategy I have is I ask my principal to give me about $100 or so to spend on ice cream sandwiches, paletas, and other frozen treats that are really nice in June. And if your account is all clear by the time we're leaving for the summer, then you get a treat delivered to your classroom. And I go around with my TAs and my little cooler decorated with all the varieties of ice cream I have on offer, and my list and my computer to check in books. And as soon as I walk in the classroom with that cooler, I am just getting books tossed at me. It's so much fun.
Well, and you said you could do that for $100. And when you do the math and you realize that is not many books, I just got my book order in, and when I realized the whole top shelf were nothing but replacements for lost books, I mean, that was an expensive part of my budget that I should never have had to do.
Right. I do work in a fairly small school, so we have about 300 or 400 students. So obviously you would have to scale that up at a bigger school, but still you would also be scaling up the number of lost books if you don't offer some kind of incentive. I also have been working on teaching my students how to check their own library accounts and renew their own books, so that way they're not getting overdue notices or clogging up our checkout line.
Well, and I think that's vitally important because they can see there's no mystery here. There's no mystery as to what they have out, and you give them that sort of ownership of this, and that empowers them to improve the situation, right?
Exactly. It's their library account, and they can control what's there, what notices they get. I'm even working towards a self-checkout station for middle school, which we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.
Thanks, Amy. Nice to meet you.
So friends, we're really lucky today. We're going to be talking with a student volunteer here at the conference, and have you introduce yourself, and we'll find out why you being here is so special.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm the Lincoln County School District librarian. I'm her daughter, and I'm here volunteering today at the conference.
We are so lucky to have you because unlike everybody else who's here and is presenting at sessions and attending sessions, you're just here working. Any chance you're getting volunteer hours for National Honor Society?
Yes, I am.
I knew it. So let me ask you, you've had a parent working in the school libraries for a long time. Tell me, what is it that you think has impacted you the most about having a parent who works in the school libraries?
I found it really beneficial because it's helped me to get other volunteer opportunities. I volunteer at the Newport Public Library as well, and I had many opportunities to meet interesting people and make a difference in our community through the libraries.
So I'm really curious, do your friends think that you're like a book kid because you have a parent who works in the library?
Yeah, they definitely do, but I have a pretty amazing group of friends who also like to read and enjoy the library.
So is there any chance that we're going to get you to move into the libraries when you grow up? Is becoming a librarian on your horizon, or do you think it's just a launching point?
It could be definitely something I'm interested in. I've worked in them for so long, and I really feel at home in libraries, so it's something to think about.
I'm so grateful you're here. I know that a lot of the adults are because we've got things to do and running around crazy doing all sorts of busy things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, friends, we are so lucky today. We've got Courtney Pedland, and you are the president of the American Association of School Librarians. You are here in Oregon. Give us just a reminder, what was your path to leadership when it came to working at the national level?
So mine was probably a little bit shorter than some other folks. I have been a member for a long time and became the delegate from my association to the national level. And I volunteered on the member engagement committee. And that's about what I've done personally. I know there are other people who have volunteered much longer and much more intensely than I have. So just know that do not have imposter syndrome when it comes to volunteering for committees or Knowledge Quest or even running for positions on the board, because we all have experience and ideas and expertise that we can share with each other.
Well, and I know that this has been sort of a life-altering experience. I have so few of us will ever know what this feels like, but I know that you're going to be stepping into the next phase of this soon. Will you give us an idea of how does your responsibilities, how do those change when you move into, I think it's immediate past president?
That is true. So right now I am considered the voice of the association. So all of the interview requests and things like that go through me. Anything that needs to be communicated from offices within ALA goes through me to the board, as well as a myriad many other things. The one thing I always tell people is I do the exact same job that you do every day during the day. I just attend a lot more meetings in the evening. So there's that is kind of my life right now. Next year, I'll transition into more of a secondary role where I will help with the Leadership Development Committee, where we look at potential board members for the future. So that is my biggest responsibility, as well as attending, I believe, 2 state conferences like I am on the circuit this year.
Oh, I'm so excited. I know you and I will see each other next week because we are presenting together on a panel. Listen, have a safe trip, and I'll see you in Tampa.
I hope that I will see many smiling faces in Tampa as well as yours, Amy.
Thanks so much, Courtney.
Bye.
My name is Delia Fields, and I'm a secondary school librarian from Hermiston out in Eastern Oregon. I serve 2 middle schools and a high school. And I would say, well, this is my 10th year as being a teacher librarian. And I would say one of the things that I can do to encourage my staff is, very honestly, oftentimes they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what I can do to help them. And so I pretty much give them kind of a menu of what I can do for them, kind of like little bits, big entrees, and the whole buffet. And so what I'll do is I ask what they're doing, what subjects they're going to be teaching, what projects, and I'll give them either, hey, this is a little mini classroom library I can bring to you. These are some electronic resources I can provide to you. This is ALSIS, which is our Oregon Library Information Service System. And what I do basically is say, I can guest teach, I can bring your classes in, I can help you, I can co-teach. I show them all the ways I can help in 20 minutes, in a whole half hour, in 2 lessons for your whole junior class, all of those things. And so I don't basically run roughshod over them, but I let them know I can share with you, I can take over your class and you can go to the bathroom and relax. We can do any number of things. And usually they're stunned for a few minutes. They're like, really? And then we just have the conversation from there and we plan, and they're excited because really they don't know what we can do to serve.
Well, and something I've discovered is a lot of times all it takes is one who says, you're not going to believe this, but the librarian just taught my class today, and I didn't have to do anything.
Exactly. And so then pretty soon the junior comm teacher will say, hey, she just did a whole lesson on citations. And then the science teacher says, okay, well, I don't need that, but I didn't realize that I'm teaching whatever. And she set up this whole classroom library of print materials, but then also showed my kids how they could find online resources of invertebrate zoology resources.
You know, I'm super curious. You cover multiple buildings. I've done that myself. Do you have a tip or trick for listeners who are tuning in right now who also have the demands of multiple buildings weighing on them every day?
Yeah, you've got to have an organizational system. For example, our principals always give out bulletins for each week. You've got to print those out, and then you've got to either color code or get folders or binders. Do something where you can keep each building separate, and then have an overall list for the week for your to-dos. Keep your budgets. I hate to say it, but you got to kind of regroup and look each day before each week starts. Okay, what have I got going on each building? And invariably, people have got to give you grace, and you've got to give yourself grace, because it's a lot. People ask a lot of us. We ask a lot of ourselves, but it's what we do.
Delia, I'm so glad you decided to stop by. Thank you so much. Have a great conference.
Thank you so much. Go libraries.
Hi, I'm Mika, and I work at a middle school in Southern Oregon.
You work in a middle school. What have you learned really works with exciting your students when it comes to reading?
Is a good book talk is usually what will inspire kids to read, even the most reluctant readers. A good book talk, if you can hook them with a story that hits home, they will turn it around and they'll be readers.
You were sharing with me just a minute ago that your love of libraries started at a very early age.
Yes.
Would you give listeners an idea of when your love of libraries started?
Yes. So my love of libraries started when I was very young. I want to say about 4 years old. I would take trips to the library with my aunt weekly and just spend hours there picking through books, having the librarians help me find books, taking them home and just poring over them, and then getting so excited to take them back and get new ones. It was just magical. I didn't have the greatest childhood, and reading was always a wonderful way for me to escape from that. And so, to me, librarians were always heroes. And I always wanted to figure out, how could I be a hero just like them?
I'm so glad you joined us today. Thank you so much for being a part of this profession that we both love.
Thank you.
My name is Heidi Sumner. I am a middle school librarian at 2 different middle schools. There are only 2 in my district, and I cover both of them. Luckily, I have a full-time assistant at both buildings, so the library is open at all times. But I recently had to write my goals for my principal, and my goal that I have been putting off for at least a decade is to genreify my fiction section. And I'm, a third of the way done, and I can't believe the incredible response I've already received from the students. Like, I love this. I can find what I'm looking for, and I dragged my feet for so long because I was a purist, and I'm so grateful that I tried it, and it's going to be successful, I hope.
So I'm really excited for you, because I'm going to tell you, not every administrator is going to let you have your personal growth goal be something that is related to your collection.
It is. I made the jump that it's related because I'm hoping that not only my circulation stats will increase, but feedback from my students will, show that they are finding what they're looking for more easily, because I can't always be there to help them.
Well, and I'll be honest, I genreified out of necessity because I'm that new to young adult. I'm being introduced to young adult again for the, second time now. And for me, my struggle is I just don't know my collection well enough. So if it's genreified, that's a bit of a crutch for me. But let me ask you, oftentimes when you genreify, it reveals things about your collection. Have you found this to be true?
Yes, definitely. I have shelves and shelves and shelves of fantasy, and only 1.5 shelves of horror, which is a very popular section. So already I can say to myself, when I place orders, I need to be thinking about that what do my students want and where am I heavy on one side and what I need to fill in the gaps.
Well, and I also know that as our collections become more, developed, so that you might even subdivide your genres. Right now, my dystopian and my sci-fi, it's one. But I suspect if I am at this long enough, I may be subdividing.
True. I've got 16 different genres right now, and some of them are very small. I have a separate genre for Holocaust novels because my teachers do a unit on that.
Okay, forgive me. I don't have 16, though. Can you rattle off some of the ones? Because
I will.
Tell me, what are some of the other genres? Because I'm telling you right now, I don't have 16 genres.
So I have fantasy, sci-fi, and I do mix my dystopian with sci-fi, romance, humor, sports. I have realistic, and then I have a separate section that's teen, so more for my 8th graders, although anybody's allowed to check those out. War, which is, and then Holocaust, like I mentioned, and historical fiction. Books where animal is the main character, I have it in a separate category. So I wasn't counting, but that's what comes to the top of my head.
But that's interesting because I've never considered having a humor as a category or war, but I do know, especially in communities that are close to military bases, or if you've got I have heard of a Holocaust or World War II being a part of somebody's genre.
Yes, definitely. And I actually, because I have so many students that still love to read Diary of a Wimpy Kid type books, they're often asking me for funny books. So that's what that guided me towards coming up with that, as a separate category.
I love it. And, obviously this is very particular to your collection. Heidi, I'm so glad that you stopped by. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great conference.
Thank you, Amy. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Kelsey Jones. I'm from Ontario, Oregon. I work at the Pioneer Elementary School. We have 112 beautiful kids, and I get to see all of them every day and talk about all of their favorite books. That's the best part of my life.
Oh, I love that. So tell me, what are you going to share with our listening audience today?
I want to introduce the audience to the Book Fairy. About every week, I have my Cricut cutout Book Fairy write a handwritten note to my classes in glitter pen. And she knows all about what they're learning in class, and she handpicks a picture book or a nonfiction book to deliver to my K-5 students. And I set up the Book Fairy outside their classroom door so they are greeted with her when they walk in the morning. And I handpick topics they will love, and they get to return her to me at the end of the day and visit her in her fairy garden in the library.
Oh my God, that's so cute. I mean, seriously, but that's one of those things that it's a way to reach out to students where they are, not just when they come to your space.
Yes, and they love that she's so connected to what they love and what they are learning about in the moment. And they get so excited, and they come and they tell me all about what the Book Fairy told them that day and brought to them. And it's so exciting to see their faces light up and tell me all the things that they learned.
I have heard someone who does a book dragon who writes letters to their students, and then the students open the letter and it's, their eyes go big and it's just like, oh my gosh, the book dragon wrote me. But, I imagine this gives you one more opportunity to reach out to your teachers and just say, hey, listen, the Book Fairy is looking for some ideas to connect with your kids. Do you want to give us some insight?
What I really like to do is if I talk to a teacher in the staff room, or if I know they're having a stressful week with their students and the teacher and the students just need a calm time during the day to reconnect and have fun together, I like to handpick really fun books. And some Kate DiCamillo picture books. She has an adventure book that all the kids love, and it just lets them both relax, and they get to reconnect and rebuild their relationship with their kids during stressful times. And that is what I love to do for my teacher friends.
Well, and once again, demonstrating that librarians come to the rescue of our students and our teachers, the theme of this conference that we're at. I love that. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on Libraries Rock.
My name is Grace. I'm an elementary teacher librarian in Portland, Oregon, and a past president of the Oregon Association of School Libraries.
I forgot to curtsy, friends. I did not see her tiara. Here she is. She is a past president, which means this was something you did a while ago. Let us know, what kinds of things do you feel school librarians need now that perhaps were not on the radar when you were in leadership?
One of the best things I've done lately is genrifying my fiction section. I was just in a discussion about genrifying in the session I'm in right now. And it was a lot of work, but I pulled my fiction books and stickered all of them and put them together. And I'm seeing the kids go into the fiction section a lot more. Even the graphic novel addicts are going into my fiction section more. And I have kids who are very excited if they look for scary stories. I can point right to the section. I have a girl who came to me and she said, "You have a pride section." And she was so thrilled that she knew exactly where to go for the books.
Well, I love that you're empowering them. You're giving them that ability to find what they're looking for, and they're feeling very capable in that space. I'm curious, would you expand on any of this? Do you think you might do some of this with maybe you organize your nonfiction a little differently? Or would you consider, say, your students offering suggestions of other types of categories?
For now, I'm sticking with doing the nonfiction section. It's working pretty well. And I'm sort of starting to work on the picture book section. I have a Pride picture book section too. And I have all the holidays pulled in the concept books. And series books pulled are in tubs facing out so the kids can find their favorite authors. But I haven't gone beyond that yet. It was a big job just to get the fiction section done, and I'm really pleased with the results.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing with us today. Thank you so much and have a great conference.
Thank you. It was nice talking to you.
Hi, my name is Grace, and I am a library technology assistant in Oregon, and today I'm at the Oregon Association of School Libraries Conference, and we're having an awesome time learning lots of things.
Let me ask, because you are still in school right now, and what is the end goal?
Well, right now, I just want to be able to serve my students the best that I can. I work with students who are learning Chinese and Spanish, and so I want to have a really good foundation and ability to help those students find books, develop literacy, and be able to respond to situations like book challenges.
When I was in library school, I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had no practical application. So let me get this straight. You're working during the day, but you're a student sort of online, am I correct? So what is the advantage to being able to be in a school and also be a student at the same time?
I love it. It's so great to be in school and working at the same time because I feel like I can apply my work to my education and I can apply my education to my work. It's fantastic.
I absolutely love that. Now, tell me, in a perfect world, what are the kinds of things that you are excited to do when you get a space of your own?
I love collection development, especially for children, and I love finding resources for those harder to find books for our children who are learning other languages. And so I'm really excited to get into that collection development further.
Well, I guarantee you there are librarians out there ready to help you. I'm so glad that our profession is going to have a new edition very soon. Congratulations on the progress you've made. And thank you so much for spending time today investing in yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
My name is Christina Sahayos. I am a teacher librarian at Racehawk Ridge Middle School in Westland, Oregon. And my goal this year is to totally revamp my nonfiction collection to elevate reading in that genre and to get kids excited about nonfiction books.
Where are you even getting started? Because it sounds like this is an idea and you're going to put it into practice this year.
That's a good question. I am getting started, first of all, by being here and talking to other librarians and getting ideas. Also, just through speaking to mentors that I have and speaking to the kids, to our staff, and getting ideas of what kind of nonfiction books they'd like to see in our collection.
So ditching doing, basically.
I'm sorry?
Are you ditching doing? Is that what we're doing? So have you decided that you want to change the way students engage with your nonfiction?
Not ditching Dewey altogether because I think it's still important in the nonfiction area, but kind of revamping Dewey. So I'd like to kind of genrify Dewey's, keeping the Dewey system, but genrifying it.
Oh, so on your vision board, what is this going to look like? So when I walk into your library and you've been able to put some time and energy into this, how might it look different than it does right now?
I think instead of just having the Dewey system, the books organized according to Dewey, you would see it more genre-wide. So narrative nonfiction, for example, memoirs, biographies, and then the books organized according to the Dewey numbers in those certain genres.
I love that, and I'm going to be curious to see how the students react when things start to look differently. Thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
My name is Amanda Jones, and I work at the Lad Acres Library in the Hillsborough School District. And we have a pretty small, bare-bones library. Our school is over 50 years old, but we're doing our best to upgrade everything that we can. And because I have an ABC schedule, we do check out, and then I can't check out the next time, so we try to do a lot of exploration. We have art day, STEAM day, and games day, because they need social skills after the pandemic. So I'm trying to juggle a lot of things as a paraprofessional.
So I'm really curious, because you talk about your place being vintage. We call it vintage.
Oh,
it
excellent.
Is vintage. And you know, there are a lot of things that come with being vintage, like big, large, unwieldy pieces of furniture. Do you have any sort of goals or possibility of upgrading some of the things like the furniture in the space? Has there been any sort of glimmer of hope in that respect from your administration?
Actually, yes. It was not from, it was in partnership with administration, but the PTA, when they couldn't have a jogathon, they had a readathon, and that raised enough money in partnership with a silent auction for adults to get us fresh tables, new chairs, and a few other new fixtures. So I can display books, because you want it to look like a bookstore so they can see the fronts of those books, because they do judge a book by the cover when there is like a grader. So, yeah.
Well, and forgive me, but I don't want kids going home with books I'm embarrassed about. And unfortunately, when you have an older space, invariably you have older books. It just works out that way, because if you have a new space, you haven't moved all the books over. You've definitely cleaned them out. So it sounds like you've got a great relationship with your PTO. I'm really curious to know, what are some other things you might be able to collaborate on moving in the future?
They're actually very responsive when I let them know that we have a need for, we're working on nonfiction, because we do want that to be updated, and we don't want how to write your personal history with a dictaphone kind of books on the shelf. And so we are trying to weed heavily and then get really good high interest books to get those kids learning how to research at all grade levels. So they're supportive, and I've got a book list that they just agreed to pay for. So it's so helpful. But I feel like I'm coming from a place of privilege when I say that, and other schools in my same district are like, we have no funding. Our group does not know how to find access to those resources and support. So,
well, and I think something that's absolutely essential to enforce and remind our parent organizations is there is no more equitable way to distribute money than to the school library staff, because we think of everybody. We're not going to pick favorites. We're going to make sure that each and every group of our students has found the resources, make sure that we are investing in all of our students, not just a particular group.
Correct. We actually, a bunch of us worked on an equity boost pitch to our Hillsborough Schools Foundation as well, and they came through for us. Each school got $3,000 worth of books last year, because we're like, we have neurodivergent kids that need to see a neurodivergent main character, not just the side character or the afterthought character. And we have so many different cultures represented at each school. And so they tailored it to each school. The ones that have a little higher Vietnamese population got more Vietnamese books. And all of us needed more books in Spanish. And so it's really nice that we don't only have Charlotte's Web in Spanish now. And then a lot of nonfiction that ties in, and more of those career and college pathways books in all languages. So.
Well, and friends, we'll put a link in the show notes to our episodes that we've done on DEI and neurodivergence representation in our collections, because you're absolutely right. Amanda, your school is so lucky that you are spending a Saturday here investing in your school and investing in yourself. I'm so grateful that you decided to share with us today.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here and just to talk about all things books and library so that I can go back with better information to pass along. Let's pay it forward.
Have a great conference.
Thank you.
My name is Kim Hilton. I am a K-5 elementary school in Portland, Oregon. It has a Spanish immersion program and a neighborhood side, so I have both. And I don't speak any Spanish, which makes it interesting, but it's a cool school.
Fantastic. Now, let me guess. I mean, you've been at this for a little while. Would you feel comfortable sharing with us, how long have you been a librarian?
I have been a librarian for... This is my 20th year being in a library, but I've been an educator for 35 years.
I'm right there with you. I'm 32. So right there, yes, you're.
I've seen the whole thing change from when I first started to now, and it is not even close.
Well, I'm curious because as you and I have sort of been around the block a little bit, what kinds of things would you want to make sure that our newest additions to the field, our newest librarians graduating from library school right now, what kinds of words of advice can you pass along? Because you've obviously found reason to be here as long as you have.
Enjoy what you're doing. If you don't enjoy it, find something else. Remember to breathe. Everything will pass, even the worst days, and you just need to remember to breathe through it. Make sure you are vocal about what you are doing and how you're doing it and where you want it to go.
Let me ask you, because obviously there's only one library and you're the only librarian in your school. So how have you managed to find the supports that you need to feel like every day you can do this?
Well, I've connected with, Portland Public is pretty big, so it's harder to get, but when I was at my other school, I had the other librarians, so make sure I connected with them. I also connect with teachers and get some love that way.
I am so grateful that you chose to share with us today. I am grateful that you are here investing in yourself and our profession. Have a great conference, Kim.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your podcast. It's amazing.
So my name is Sylvia, and I am extremely grateful and lucky that I got to be a librarian after being a classroom teacher, kindergarten through 12th grade for over 20 years. And to finish off my career in the library is golden. It is just, I'm a brand new school in Southern Oregon, a brand new middle school. We pulled 6th graders out of elementary this year for the first time. So all 3 middle schools have 6th graders for the first time. We have 6th through 8th grade. It's new. Everything's new. Everything's new. My assistant's new. I'm new. And we have nothing, like you said, to compare ourselves to. We are starting our own culture, our own expectations, our own dreams, our own history. And so it's just too exciting. And to get the culture rolling and get the bigger kids and younger kids all mixed in together, I started a bookmark contest because I don't have bookmarks. Do we have bookmark? No, I don't have bookmarks. Let's make some. So, took a couple 8th graders to define it as cool. And we got some, we got some artists in there. We got some non-artists that just did a lot of watercoloring. And that, now that it's out, it's the first thing decorated out in the hallways is bookmarks. And as soon as we have some winners, because everybody will vote on Monday, we'll have some posters of bookmarks and start using those to check out books and we use our bookmarks. So it's just super, super exciting.
What I find fascinating is you've been a librarian for 7 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks.
So tell us, when did you graduate and when did you start your library career?
I graduated from the University of Texas in 1994. So like I said, I've been in the classroom, kindergarten through 12th grade, and I just started my library career. So I'm just learning. I'm a learner just like everybody else right now. So it's super exciting, and I have a lot to learn, but it's exciting.
But already you are demonstrating one of the most exemplary traits of school librarians, and that is we are lifelong learners. Mm-hmm. You're not going to get anybody coasting in this position. I love that you have started your year and you're already building that reading culture.
Yeah.
we're making it fun. We're making it creative. It's available to everybody. There are no barriers, no boundaries, no rules. It's what you're in the library, you're in here. There's markers, there's pencils. Let your imagination go. And what we have received is just so much happiness, And so it's just a great beginning to do that.
I'm going to tell you right now, as somebody who has had the misfortune of working where my predecessor is watching because I replace them and they're still in the building. There's a challenge there. Following in the footsteps of somebody who's been incredibly like a superstar at what they do, you don't have any of that baggage to move through.
No, not only do I not have that, which I'm very fortunate for, although times I feel very left alone. I feel very like, hello, what am I supposed to do? But just like a lifelong learner should be doing, we find the right people. I have found the right people. I have found the right people in my district and in my world, in my community, that are helping me. Incredible. The amount of support. I'm only here today because of my high school, person, Kelly Larson and Susan Lytle, who are here with me. And I would not be here today if it weren't for the conversations, the check-ins that they do with me, and the encouragement. And just that, when they walk into my library and say, wow, this is an amazing space, and it's 7 weeks old, that means a lot to me because they have a lot of experience, they have a lot of knowledge that I don't have even an inch of. And yet they can see the positive in me and know and have that hope for me that it's going to be what we make it. And so yeah.
Sylvia, I'm so grateful that you are here sharing all this positivity with us. It sounds like you're in good hands. You've got some fantastic mentors. You don't feel alone. You've got a support system built in. And I have every expectation that you are going to feel that success every single day. Thank you for joining us today and sharing all of this positivity with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Harrison, and I'm from Imlay Elementary in Hillsborough.
Fantastic. So give us an idea. How long have you been an elementary school librarian?
So I have been doing this for 3 years, but before that, I was the preferred sub.
Listen, I'll tell you, as somebody who has preferred subs on my phone, we're friends who text, so I get it. You are incredible. You were the lifesaver for many, many teachers for many, many years. Let me ask you, classroom management is something, when you go into the elementary school, you absolutely cannot ignore the fact that this is vital.
That is exactly true. We are a PAX school, and so you can look that up as PAX, and what that means is that everybody has the expectations up front, and they know what to expect in each classroom space throughout the school. And so I've been working really hard to make sure that not only the library is covered for them this year, but I'm also in the cafeteria covering cafeteria duty on the days that I'm not in the library, believe it or not. And so when I do that, I make sure that they're PAX quiet and they know the expectations in the cafeteria as well. I also cover a recess, and I do crossing guard duty as well. And so all those spaces, they need to be safe and responsible and respectful in each one.
Well, I love the consistency here. You're sort of omnipresent. It's like you're literally everywhere.
Exactly. Unfortunately, the library position in our district is much smaller than we'd like to see it. And so we're hoping to work on that with the union and let them see how big we really are and how we really are part of the heart of the school.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, you work with our littles. What are some ways that you have been able to really wrangle those? I mean, we're sort of child wranglers. It's sort of, somebody told me it's like corralling kittens. So tell me, what are some of your proven tricks?
Okay, this year I put in place a new classroom management plan. We have a PAX bookshelf in the library, and on that bookshelf, they can earn their PAX books. There's a PAX book for library entry. So as they come into the classroom, are they coming in quiet? Are they ready to listen and learn so I can just start right in? Or are they all rowdy and not ready to go? The next PAX book that they can earn as a group is library listeners. Are they listening during the lesson? The third one is whether or not they're being PAX behaviors during our checkout and our choice time. Are they on task? Are they playing with the sticks like they're having sword fights? So then they can earn that book. And then my last book is clean up and line up time. Are they being responsible in line, or are they still playing with books? Are they breaking bookshelves? That kind of thing is not okay. And so what they're doing now is they're working as a class to earn these PAX books that go up on their bookshelf in the classroom. And then if they earn those, each one coordinates to a point, And then the classes are working to their own reward. And so at the beginning, they each got to choose as a class what that reward would be. So some things are things like bookmarks and things that I can get from Scholastic Rewards. But the most fun ones are things like there's a Scooby-Doo mystery that's a glow-in-the-dark mystery. And we're going to go into a darkened room. And I'm going to read them this glow-in-the-dark mystery with voices for Scooby-Doo. So things like that. 6th graders, super invested in getting an extra recess. So getting 15 minutes of recess time with me in addition to checkout time.
You know, it sounds like you have to be a partner in learning with your teachers. It sounds like they recognize the consistency of expectations that happen in your learning space as well as theirs. It's not where chaos reigns. You want to make sure that these behaviors continue when they're in your library space.
That is exactly right. I have a lot of teachers who will come in specifically during their planning time just to correct behaviors that they happen to overhear or see as they pass the library.
I am so glad that you stopped in today. I hope you have a fantastic conference, and thank you for sharing your expertise with us today.
Why, thank you. I really appreciate it.
My name is Lori McGreal, and I am the librarian at McMinnville High School in McMinnville, Oregon.
Fantastic. And I happen to know, because we're up here at front stage, and you're going to be very busy in a few minutes. But you first are going to be handing out awards. Let me ask, what is your role in your state organization? And tell us about some of the things that are being recognized as these achievements for OASL this year.
Well, yes, thank you. So my role in the OASL organization is I am on the committee for awards and scholarships. My partner is on the board, and I just joined it this year. We are recognizing several things today. First of all, we gave away 3 first-time attendee scholarships. So 3 lucky library employees in school libraries of Oregon got to have a scholarship to come here to attend since they were first-timers. And then I will be giving out 5 other awards. All of these people have been recognized by their peers, or you could self-nominate. And they include classified staff library worker. So anyone in a classified staff position in any of our schools in Oregon. Next, we'll be giving an elementary school librarian recognition of the year. Next will be a high school librarian of the year. Then we'll have a district librarian. And finally, we do have an administrative champion of the year. So all of these people will be invited to say a few words after receiving a plaque from us.
You know, I love that because, first of all, giving people that scholarship to be able to come. When I talk to people who have said, I don't go to my state organizations, I don't go to our state conference, money is always one of the reasons, in addition to not being supported by their administrators. But money is a very real hurdle, especially if you are also in the process of paying for your degree in library science.
Absolutely. We feel like it really opens the door, and it's for any library worker. So it's, classified, even an administrator. Actually, they could even take advantage of it, as well as us teacher librarians as well. I mean, because there's the entry fee, but then there's also, staying in a hotel and the gas. And so anyway, we can get more people involved in our association, the more valued they're going to feel.
Well, and I also love the fact that you do include having an administrative award for those who support us as administrators, because as will become abundantly clear in my keynote in a few minutes, how our jobs are regarded, how our roles are regarded in our schools by our administrators, both in our building level and our district level, really can have a great impact. You can either find a great source of support, or you can just find another hurdle.
I could not agree more. And when my partner and I were reading over the applications, the person who won, I took excerpts from the superintendent's recommendation letter so that I could say, my principal needs to do this, my administrator needs to do this.
Well, and again, sort of shining a light on our administrators who recognize the value that we bring to our school communities writ large is absolutely vital, because the hope is that when they see others getting this kind of recognition, realizing, what? This is a missed opportunity to make sure that we are taking advantage of all the skills that come with having a certified school librarian. And in this case, I want to also ask you, because, it's not often that you see clerks and assistants, people, as you call them, classified, not librarians per se, but staff who work in the library.
I mean, we could not, us teacher librarians could not do our jobs without those staff people in the library supporting us and students.
I absolutely agree with you. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you're going to take a big, deep breath of relief when you're done with this conference.
100%. I'm so inspiring too. So thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Catherine Harmon. I'm a librarian at a small rural school in Rockaway Beach, Oregon, at Neoconney Middle and High School.
Fantastic. So let me ask you, what are you going to share with listeners today?
Well, I'm going to share one challenge I've had to overcome in my library. So a few years ago, I had an administrator, and he noticed that our library had a computer lab right attached to it, and that computer lab was no longer used for testing because we got Chromebooks. And he's looking at the space, and he goes in, Catherine, I have a great idea. We're going to turn this into an athletic center with exercise gear. And I said, great, the kids will really benefit from that. They get to be moving and kinetic, and it'll be whatever. He says, not for students, for staff. And my heart just fell, because I didn't think that was the best use of that space. And so I said to him, we have a new superintendent. The superintendent is very into the cool cutting edge technology and how we can get that to students. And so I said, have you ever heard of a makerspace? And he said, no, what's a makerspace? And I said, well, we'll provide tools to kids. We'll use the computers and we'll do clever things. We'll fix computers. We'll have a tech club. We'll 3D print with students. We'll provide tools they can't afford at home. We'll make it an amazing space. And so that's what we did. And now there's a makerspace at the middle school and a makerspace at the high school. And I'm not only the librarian, I'm also the robotics coach. So, mixed bag, but it's great.
Yeah, but look at you solving a problem that benefits the students directly. I've got to imagine for your students, they probably don't even realize how close they came to that not happening. It took your vision and your determination to make this happen.
Well, and the administrator came around eventually. He realized what a great idea that was. But the students have definitely enjoyed participating in all the projects we've had, and we've had a good time. So,
well, and isn't it ridiculous that we have to fight for things that are so common sense? This is so obvious to you and to me, but the fact that you had to convince an administrator is really just unnecessary.
That's our job, right? That's what we do. And I think you do a great job of explaining that to all of us and reminding us of what our strengths are.
Well, and advocating for our jobs is not something that any typical educator has to do. One of my assistants was a retired math teacher. And I said, were you ever worried about somebody eliminating math from the curriculum?
No.
So needless to say, I think you're amazing, and I think your students are really lucky to have you. And thank you so much for coming today.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Hi, my name is Molly, and I am the librarian at Portland Jewish Academy in Portland, Oregon.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you're here. What are you sharing with listeners today?
I think I'm going to talk about a favorite library program. It's something that we just started last year, and I'm excited to go round 2 and to expand it this year. But last year we invited kindergarten, first and second grade families to voluntarily opt in to a program we called Tikkun Olam Le'Yeladim, which is Hebrew for our young children heal the world. And it essentially gave families an opportunity to talk about thorny, difficult social issues such as homelessness and hunger and learning challenges through a picture book that I would send home. So each week for the families that opted in, I sent home a little tote bag with a picture book, and a list of discussion questions and things for them to think about first, like the adults could think about before reading, and then questions to talk about with their children. And then they would return that tote bag and get another one the next week. And so across 10 weeks, they talked about 10 picture books that dealt with really complex social issues that, that way they were not caught flat-footed in the grocery store or walking down the sidewalk at some time. Then they'd had these touchstone books that they could refer to.
Wow. Now, this kind of thing requires an investment. You might have had to purchase a few more books from your collection. I love how you're raising the profile of what you do and the value you bring, not just to the learning that happens in the school during the school day, but this extension opportunity is, I have to imagine you're an absolute hero to your families, because all of a sudden you've created a turnkey, ready-made program that they can do whenever it works with their calendar.
Yeah, the families were really grateful and appreciative, and it always feels good to be that hero, but it also furthers our mission and my personal, agenda to promote these kind of conversations. A lot of things in the media are about how, librarians are indoctrinating our children, and I wasn't indoctrinating the children, the parents were. It was an opt-in program. So I think they were very grateful, and there was discussion. Like this year, I did a survey at the end to see how they liked everything and if they had any suggestions for changing. And one idea I had to cut down on the back and forth and remembering to send the books back was, would you like to have 4 books in a bag and you'd keep them for a month? And that would be like less remembering, and you could do it a little bit more on your schedule. And most of them gave me the feedback that would actually be counterproductive, because having to get it back in a week made them prioritize it. And if they had a whole month, they might put it to the side and not get to it.
Wow. Now, and I have to imagine that families have participated in this over the years. How long have you offered this opportunity?
Last year was the first year we did it, and I'm planning to do it again this year and also expand it to a 3 through 5 program as well. So we'll have a K through 2 set of books that are circulating and a 3 through 5 set of books that are circulating.
Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful you shared this, because I imagine librarians could customize this to the communities they support and the issues that they want to make sure parents feel that we are recognizing that at the end of the day, those questions are coming home to them, and you're giving them exactly what they need to be able to help address these thorny issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the librarians are in the best place to know what the big issues are that are facing their families and their children. And so, it's definitely customizable. I would say the biggest thing is really carefully selecting the books, choosing really well-vetted books that really dig into the topic, but in the affirming, gentle, and empowering way.
Well, and forgive me, but by having the parents part of this process, you are gaining that kind of support that librarians need when things do go sideways and there's a Board of Education meeting. All of a sudden, you have a whole bunch of allies who see you as a support when they are trying to parent their children through what can be very challenging times and topics which really require some sort of launching point. We need to be able to have a place where we can start these conversations.
Absolutely. I feel very fortunate that my community is very supportive and believes strongly in librarians and the work that libraries are doing in the community. And so I think I'm starting from a place of strength, but definitely helping them all understand the role that books can play and helping children understand big issues. And opening that conversation, a lot of families don't realize that they can start with a book. It seems so second nature to us because that's where we've always started. But a lot of families don't realize that starting with a simple conversation and on the couch or in bed at bedtime can start a conversation that can last years.
My goodness, right now, listeners are listening and they're like, how can I do this in my program? I love it. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And I'm so grateful that you and I crossed paths today.
It's so wonderful meeting you. Thank you for coming. Hi, I'm Ann Reyes-Bracy. I'm the high school librarian at Franklin High School in Southeast Portland, Oregon.
My pronouns are she, her. And I just got back from New York City. I was a juror on the Young People's Prize for the Kirkus Award there.
So you start from the beginning. I'm curious to know, how did you get involved in this? And friends, she's being modest. First of all, do tell us your role in today's festivities.
I guess I wear a lot of hats. I am also the president of the Oregon Association of School Libraries currently and until the end of the year.
So tell us, how did you get involved in the Kirkus Award?
Oh, yeah, sure. I've been reviewing for Kirkus. I review picture books and middle grade and young adult for Kirkus probably since 2019. 2019 is when I started, and I have really enjoyed that. It's a great way to stay connected with what's coming out, and they send me books and I read them and I get a little bit of money for it, and then I get to tell them what's good and what's not.
So I'm curious, because somebody's going to say, well, how do I get involved in that? And obviously that sounds like there must be like an application process.
Yeah, I think I got involved because I was a fellow. I was an AUSC fellow, the first AUSC fellow group in 2019, a group of 6 equity, diversity, and inclusion fellows. We're really working hard to diversify the profession. And so I was included in that fellowship, which was phenomenal. They hooked me up with a mentor. And one of the people I met was an editor for Kirkus. And she asked me if I like to write, and I do. And then she asked me, would I ever be interested in reviewing children's books? And I said, yeah, sure. And then she actually followed up with me, and then I had to do it. So I've been doing it ever since, and I really like it. Just a couple books a month.
Well, and I gotta tell you, you miss 100% of the chances you never take, and we are famous for taking chances where so many people would be like, oh, no. But speak a little bit about that, because you obviously have added to your workload each week, but you made that choice to do that.
Well, part of the deal is that I get free books, and we're working on a shoestring budget. So one of the perks of being a reviewer is you get to keep the books sometimes. And when I was on the jury for the Kirkus Prize, I got hundreds of books, hundreds plural, mailed to my home. Not everything's appropriate for the high school library, but anything that wasn't, I was able to pass along to colleagues who are in my same district, and anything that felt like an awesome fit, I was able to add. So an awesome opportunity to bring more high quality literature to my students. I'm always looking for ways to boost my budget and stretch my budget. And like you said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. I reached out to one of our vendors here at the conference, Permabound, and I reached out to a publisher, Penguin Random House, to see if they wanted to provide free copies of Ida Salazar's books for an author signing, and they said yes. And if they wouldn't have, if I hadn't asked, nobody's going to reach out to you and ask if you want a couple hundred free books. But if you ask, the worst they could say is no.
Well, and I especially because these aren't ARCs. These are actually published books, and I think that's important because a lot of us will come into contact with a lot of ARCs. We cannot put those in our collections.
No, we can't, because they're not the finished copy. They're not intended to be circulated. They don't last. They're going to disintegrate at some point, and then there are mistakes or omissions that they're going to correct before the final publishing. With my ARCs, because they do end up with a lot of ARCs. With my ARCs, I have a birthday book cart, and if you tell a kid here's some free books, whatever. If you tell them it's for their birthday, they love to grab them from the cart, and then they're like, "Well, my birthday was in July." I'm like, "Listen, anybody who has a birthday can get a book from the cart." So, and they're like, "What about August?" Yeah, you too. Get in here. And I posted on our Instagram, and it's boosted engagement at my library. Like birthday book cart, these aren't just any old free books. These are very special birthday free books.
Well, and as somebody whose birthday is in July, I'm going to tell you right now, we don't like to be left out. And if you teach young littles, you have half birthdays. And so you have to recognize those as well. I'm so excited to have crossed paths with you. Your conference is rapidly coming to a close. Let me know, what is it that you're excited to do now that you're going to have all this free time?
Tons of free time. As soon as I get back this week, I'm actually heading to OASL in Tampa come Wednesday. I'm going to be there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I'll run into you there too. And some of our conference attendees will be there as well.
So looking forward to that, and then I also have a full-time job. I am, I'm a librarian at Franklin High School. So I'm looking forward to picking up some of the projects that I've kind of had to pause a little bit since I've been traveling. And I'm also, I've got a couple of, I'm continuing part 2 of my freshman orientations. Our 9th graders came in for round 1. And then round 2 is coming in hot, where we're going to dig a little bit deeper into how you can use the resources in our library to benefit your academic career in high school. There's just so much going on.
Wow, your school is so lucky to have you. Your state is so lucky to have you. I am so grateful we got to meet, and I'll see you in Tampa. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Amy. Thanks for doing what you're doing.
Hi, I'm Darcy Rudnick, and I am at Funkman Arts Focused Elementary in Portland. We are an arts integrated elementary school.
Fantastic. And tell me, what is it you'd like to share with listeners today?
One of the first things I learned my first year as a librarian is always carry a laser pointing skill. If you're the only one in there and you're doing checkout and you're having to show kids where books are, a laser pointer is your best friend. They do pretend that it's a cacti.
Yes, so they do have kindergartners that will pounce on it.
Yes. So I'm curious, you've got this pointer that you're working, you've got this huge library. I'm sure that you also have some students who love to be your helper and show the students that they know where to find the books.
Always. Using student helpers is one of the best things you could do. Because if they know what books they like, then they're your reader's advisory group as well, and even plan on it.
Well, and I know that anything we can do to give them that sense of feeling capable and empowered. I sometimes would get emails from very grateful parents going, thank you so much for letting my kid help, because all they want to do is be helpful.
Exactly. I have kids helping with check-in and check-out, and now it's controversial, but I need the help, and you know what? They're there. And when I have volunteers that say they're going to be there and aren't there, that makes it harder on me. So I rely on the kids more than adults.
Well, and I've learned that if you break something down into enough steps, anybody can do it.
Exactly. I know we're not supposed to help with checkout because of privacy, but I love it when kids ask each other about their names and where it came from. And that's one of my biggest tools, is that if a name is interesting, ask them where it came from, because they didn't pick it.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Of course, thank you.
I am Kate Corson, and I'm the librarian at Wilsonville High School in Wilsonville, Oregon. And my library is an open library. There's no walls. And the children come in and out at will at all hours of the day. And our goal is to make it a comfortable, safe, fun, cushy, comfy place.
Can I take a guess? Was your building constructed in the 70s?
No, it was made in 1995, and then the library wing was built in 2000.
Forgive me, this whole open plan thing, I thought we did away with that.
It's only the library. The classrooms have walls. It's just the library. So every library in our district has open libraries.
Tell people why they shouldn't be afraid of an open floor plan, because I got to tell you, I would just be absolutely concerned for so many reasons with an open floor plan.
My favorite thing about having the open floor plan is kids who might normally be afraid of the library and the librarians come through on their way to other classes, and it gives us the opportunity to say hi. Sometimes we just throw candy at them so they want to come back. They walk through and are forced to see the displays and may see themselves on the cover of a book. And I think that we get more readers from having an open library than we would if it was closed.
Well, and forgive me, then there's no mystery as to what you're doing all day, because every once in a while somebody thinks, I thought you just sat there and read books. You're raising the profile because we become more visible when we do our jobs.
Yes, everyone sees me teaching my library lessons. Many of the teachers' doors are right by the library, so they hear me teaching my lessons. They know what I'm talking to kids about, and then the kids know what I'm talking to kids about. And so it's actually, I think, really beneficial, but not quiet.
Well, and forgive me, but given that you are visible to everyone, that includes your administrators, they would also see all the things that you are doing and hopefully educating them about all the things that your job entails.
Absolutely. Yes. I have a very supportive administration, and they come by all the time, and we talk regularly about what we're doing and what I'm doing and what they'd like to see me doing. It's a really good, strong relationship.
Now, so I want an open floor plan. I'm so jealous. All right, listen, thank you so much for sharing with us today, and I really appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for having me. I'm Tammy Fry. I work at Sato Elementary. It's at K-5. I am really excited. 2 years ago, I started a Rebook program with my fifth graders. So I've adapted the work of Cicely Lewis. Our focus is on inclusivity. I introduced the program to my students at the beginning of the year. And the following week, there was a parent who approached a colleague of mine after school and said, "How can you force our kids to do this Read Woke thing? Don't you know that Indian lives matter too?" Now, it could have been anyone. Statistically, our Indian population is the highest, so it just happened to be an Indian dad. I don't know who he was, but I went back to my fifth graders the next day and I said, "I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding. So what would you say to this parent? How would you respond?" And hands shot up. And first of all, they said, "It's an optional program. We don't have to do it. You're not forcing us to do anything." And then the hands went up and they said, "And it's not just about Black people, because there are challenges to read books about South Asians and Southwest Asians and Asians and neurodivergent and LGBTQ. It's not just Black people." And finally, the hands went up and they said, "Of course all lives matter. We're not arguing with anybody about that. But no one has been oppressed. No one has been treated like their lives don't matter as much as Black people in our country. That's why." And I thought, my work here is done. These students get it. And that was one of the most rewarding moments of my teaching.
Wow, I mean, to be validated like that by your students, would you mind telling us a little bit about when your group meets? How often do you meet? And what kinds of things have you done with these students that really has been successful?
So I introduced the program to them the first week of school. There's a bingo challenge, which they're invited but not required to do. And the types of books are accessible. So they can read chapter books or they can read picture books. The challenges are across genres, across identities, and then some that encourage them to dig a little deeper. Do a book talk, do an author presentation, read with your parents, read with a little buddy. And already kids are coming back. I've had about a half a dozen in the first month of school finish the bingo. Many of them are going for a blackout. Most of this they do on their own. I support them. I see them in library every 6th day. So I will be featuring inclusive authors and inclusive books. We'll be focusing on different cultural and heritage months throughout the year. And then in the spring, we have a local restaurant that caters our celebration. Wow. So anyone who completes the challenge gets the Rebook t-shirt, gets invited to the party. And then there's an optional book group that they can come to once a week during their lunch recess and just talk about what they're reading. And those conversations just emerge very organically. And then we get to talk about things like tokenism and colorism and just whatever's emerging from what they're reading.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. I know you've inspired listeners to start their own programs.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Miranda Doyle, and I am the OASL Intellectual Freedom Advocate and on the Oregon Committee to help schools where they're banning books. I work for Southern Oregon Education Services District, remotely supporting school libraries in Southern Oregon.
So I have to imagine when you're busy, it's never a good thing. I mean, I think that the busier you are, the luckier that Oregon is to have somebody like you at the ready to help them.
I was just talking to someone about that, and I think that maybe it's not too terrible that we're hearing about a lot of censorship attempts, because maybe in the past, no one was reporting them. They were just silently removing books. And so I'm trying to look at it in a positive light, but I also know that part of it is there are these organized groups that are putting out book lists, and they're behind some of the challenges.
What have you found has been most helpful to librarians who are in this place that really is unsettling, it's unnerving? I know many people feel like when they're under the microscope, it really does adversely affect them.
I would say just reach out for support to your school librarians in your state or your district, or to the Intellectual Freedom Committee. There are people who will support you or at least listen and give you some advice and help you with your policies and procedures and support you through the challenge.
You know, let's talk about some success stories. I mean, seriously, you probably have found that you were the right person at the right time to make sure that those librarians had what they needed to deal with the challenges that were coming to them. Can you share a little bit about some success that has happened in the state of Oregon?
Yeah, absolutely. We just had a challenge in Sherwood, Oregon, and I was able to go and talk to the Reconsideration Committee at their first meeting about some concepts of intellectual freedom, and they voted to keep the book. So that was amazing. Westland Wilsonville recently fought off a challenge and had reconsideration committees and retained all of the books. So there have been a lot of successes.
I'd like to think that with the successes, people are discouraged. Have you sensed that any of this has started to fall off, the numbers of book challenges? Has it been steadily increasing? Has it been leveling out?
It's been steadily increasing. I know. I'm hearing about more and more. And I hope that's because more people are reporting it, more people are going through the process. But also, I think we're still in the middle of it. It has not started to taper off.
Now, I was aware that they've been able to identify some key players in some agitators, if you will, people who are bent on making sure that these books are challenged. And it's a handful of people, something like 11 individuals who are doing this. Can you share anything about the strategies that they're employing so that listeners can recognize these as what they are, is very systematic attacks? It's not coming from their community, but it's coming from some key players.
Sure, definitely. There are websites, there are groups that are publishing book lists, there are people who are going to school board meetings who are not parents of students in the district, and we could recognize some of the titles that are under attack from these book lists, and it's very clear that it is not a student bringing home a book and a parent looking at it and saying, what's going on with this book? It is an organized effort to get rid of certain books, and so it's changed in that respect, and I think we need to organize as librarians, but also we really need parents and community members to fight back and be as organized on the other side.
Well, and in so much that these groups have weaponized social media and used social media to perpetuate some of these attacks, I think librarians have become equally empowered by the resources that we are sharing online.
Yeah, definitely. We just need to keep pointing out that they're taking things out of context, illustrations or paragraphs from something they're not reading the entire book, which is such a problem. And so it's easy to attack something that you haven't read and don't understand.
I am so grateful that I know that the librarians in Oregon are so lucky to have you here, because when something like this happens, you have to know you're not alone in the fight. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Jennifer McKenzie. I'm currently the K-12 district teacher librarian from Siuslaw School District in Florence, Oregon, here on the coast. And I cover the whole district. So I teach at the elementary, middle school, high school, and the alternative school, as well as running the district. So that's who I am.
So forgive me, are you supporting librarians in those spaces? Or are you supporting, you have, assistants who are in those spaces?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about how you juggle all those responsibilities.
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I do have a dedicated library aide, a classified library worker at the elementary, middle school, and high school. I don't have someone over at the alternative school, but they're a small space, and we kind of almost like bookmobile our way over there to provide resources. Yeah.
Awesome. So how do you know where you're going to spend your day? I mean, I'm curious because it seems like you were trying to sort of, you're like a plate spinner, keep everything going at once.
That is a really good question. So we're in this little teeny tiny town. It's gorgeous and beautiful. And all of our schools are literally down one road. So it's the district office, elementary, middle, high school, Lane Community College, and our alternative school is just an offshoot. I have a flexible point of need schedule. So I strategically map out where I'm going to be teaching very specific lessons throughout the year. And then I have an open Calendly link and people can just call me, anytime they need me. And most often I'm on foot and I put in about 5 to 7 miles a day running up and down the street. And here's just another little story to illustrate kind of how cute and silly and just like what my day looks like. To get a Chromebook cart from one building to the next, you just push it down the sidewalk. That's how we move Chromebook carts in our districts. We're that small.
I love that. I got a visual of this right now. And friends, what's really wonderful is before I had an opportunity to speak with everybody, they had the award ceremony, and you were recognized for all the work you do. Tell people the awards you received and what it is you think probably got the attention of the people who felt you were most deserving this year.
Okay, so I was actually the 2019 Secondary Teacher Librarian of the Year. And then this year, as a 2023 District Teacher Librarian of the Year for the state of Oregon. And I honestly think it's all about teamwork. I am at #BetterTogether. I'm just always saying that every single day. So a couple of things that really contributed to the success in my school district. I have worked in SIUSLA now. This is my 4th year. And it's all about advocacy and getting out there and forming your coalition. So I am fortunate enough to have a superintendent who supports me. Because let me tell you, before I moved to the school district, that wasn't always the case. And I can't say that people would call me a rabble-rouser, but I'm a change maker. And change isn't always met with applause. It's most often met with resistance. And oftentimes, our building principles can make or break our library system. So with that being said, I have a superintendent who hired a teacher librarian, a certified teacher librarian back to the district after 17 years. They had been without, right? And he is just super supportive. And then on top of that, I have my supervisor. This is the phrase he said to me the first time I met him. What can I do to remove barriers to help you succeed? Most administrators, in my experience, don't speak like that. So I have Andy G as my superintendent. Mike Harkler-Rode is my supervisor. And then I did befriend, pull into my camp, the former school board director, Bob Sneddon. We had next to no budget. Now we're being funded at state QEM, which is almost unheard of in the state of Oregon. And we're a tiny little district. We actually have an excess of a $50,000 budget across all of our buildings, right? So in addition to that, I have really strong library aides, which I've already spoken about, Julia Craig, Val Braybell, Vanessa Flossie. They're my team. I also make sure I form super strong relationships with English department heads because I always try to I don't want to say weasel my way in, but I do my work through English classes because I'm also a former English teacher. And then the last thing I'll mention is that I'm kind of known as the virtual field trip librarian. I just did a Fulbright in Peru, and that was part of my virtual field trip experience and how I got that Fulbright. But we have conducted over 100 virtual field trips throughout our community. I do one every single week. And our number one collaborator is the Oregon Coast Humane Society. I go there at least once a month, and I read from the catio and record it and shoot it out onto YouTube and across all the social medias. And every single time I do that, it's just a win-win. We get cats adopted, and then I garner support for the libraries, and we just keep on moving forward. So it's advocacy, we're better together. I think that's why I got that award. It's like we're better together. Yeah.
And for listeners who are wondering, is that a cat patio?
Yes, it is. We have the catio as well as the kitten nursery. My favorite days of work are when I go there and come back to work covered in kitten hair or cat glitter, I like to call it. I know I've had a good day when I come home covered in fur.
Absolutely inspiring. I know that this is not the last time we will hear from you. Thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in your term, which starts very soon.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for everything you do. You're an inspiration. Thank you.
Have a great conference.
Thanks.
My name is Stacy Niblo. I'm the team lead for our domestic learning training team at Gale, and I work with the State Library of Oregon to provide training on their Gale resources that come to them through their statewide program. And I worked with them to offer 2 sessions at the conference today.
You know, I love that because when you come in and offer that kind of training, it sort of creates, opportunities, especially because Gale is offered across the state as a state resource. And that maybe people don't realize that, but, when states provide digital resources, they can, decide which databases they're going to offer to their taxpayers who pay for this. And every school and every taxpayer and every household in this state has access to the Gale resources.
Correct. It is. It's really about digital equity. Everybody has access. You can go through your public library, you can go through your academic library, and for the K-12 schools, they have a program called OASL, so you can get right into the resources. It even geo-authenticates, so you just land in the resources as long as you're in Oregon.
Well, and I got to tell you, I'm super jealous because as somebody who has to fund my Gale subscription, find funding, I have to find an administrator willing to sign off on this. My life would be a lot easier if I could just turn to my state organization and have them decide to carry Gale.
Well, of course, we would love that as well. Our home state is Michigan. That's where Gale is based. So we would love to be, a bigger part of the Michigan Electronic Library. But we are pleased to offer our Gale and Context Opposing Viewpoints resource there, which is hugely popular.
Well, I'm so grateful you're here today because you're actually my ride back to the airport. Friends, we have, what is it? Is it a 2-hour drive?
I think about 2 hours, yeah.
And that means we have to come up with a place to go to dinner, don't we?
Yes, I'm sure we'll find plenty of help through our librarians here at the conference.
and we don't board our plane till 11 o'clock at night.
Those red eyes, they get you home, but it's rough.
Well, and forgive me because you aren't based in Oregon. So what kind of job do you have as somebody who represents Gale?
So I work with our consortia statewide partners for the most part. My counterpart, Tammy Burke, we kind of split up the country, and then we have 3 on-demand trainers who work with our individual libraries. So Tammy and I divide up the state. I visited Oregon when I was filling in for someone one year and fell in love with it. So as soon as it was available, I snatched it right back into my territory.
Fantastic. I know that the librarians here at this conference are always lucky when we get training because it's our schools who benefit because all of a sudden we can take that training. You train us and then we can go ahead and teach our teachers how to use your resources better.
Absolutely. We love the conferences. They're always so engaging. And I mean, my session today, we had so many great questions and feedback. We love to hear what people are really doing in the library. So it's a huge benefit for us as well because we hear what you want out of our resources and can pass that along to our product teams.
I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for driving me back to the airport, but also for being here because, everybody here is from Oregon except for you and me and a couple other people, but I'm very grateful. It's always nice to know that we've got people supporting the school librarians and what we do every day.
Absolutely. Love libraries. So I'm really glad to meet you and I look forward to our drive.
Thank you so much.
Oh, glad to be here. You're welcome.
Okay, well, my name is Carrie Light, and I am the district librarian, only one of 2 credentialed librarians for Lake Oswego School District in Lake Oswego, Oregon, just south of the Metro Portland area. We have 11 schools. I primarily support the 7 elementary, where we have a classified staff running the daily show, and my teammate supports the 2 middle schools and 2 high schools.
So I have to ask, because you haven't always lived in Oregon. You had a life in Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit about why you left and what was your situation in Chicago?
Yeah. For 13 years, I was a building level teacher librarian at a preschool through 5th grade building called South Park Elementary. I love it, the South Park Penguins in Deerfield, Illinois. District 109. And I loved it. Before then, I had been a classroom teacher. But I absolutely loved it. But my husband and I wanted to change it up. We had always lived where our jobs were. And my husband had the opportunity to retire. And we decided to change it up. That was quite scary for me because I needed to find another job. And when you are 49 years old and not 29 years old, it's scary to reinvent yourself. But that's what we did.
And you know, that doesn't surprise me at all, because there are a lot of people who come into this profession. It's rarely our first profession that we choose. But I got to tell you, all I asked was, where do you teach? And you're like, well, I used to teach in Illinois, in the Chicago area. I'm like, oh, did you know Andrea Trudeau? And you're like, yes. How do you know Andrea Trudeau?
Yes. So Andrea was, when I first met her, a teacher at Shepherd Middle School. And we had even been on some committees together. And she was going back to get library credential. And we met, and she became the teacher librarian at the Shepherd. In fact, she changed the name to the Shepherd Learning Commons and just took off from there. And we worked together that way just maybe a year and a half before I moved on. But she's made such an impact. And so I feel like I've known her a long time.
Well, isn't it fun? And I'm so excited that you decided to share with us because, here our community is connected, and because we are always supporting one another. And, as school librarians, we value the people in our lives and the connections that we're able to make and the resources that we are and the sources of support that we are to each other. And the fact that all we did was to say, oh, you're in Chicago. Why didn't you choose, Andrea Trudeau? I love that. So yeah. I hope that this move to Oregon has been something that really has been a positive one.
It really has. And I think, like you mentioned, like school librarians, more than anything else, they are just so generous. So I was a newbie a few years ago. I volunteered to help with a conference. All of a sudden, I've met people. Now I'm co-chair of the Reader's Choice. But there are so many people who want to share out and support you.
I'm so glad that you are here, you're happy, and you've been able to have this next chapter, and you're here in this beautiful state where you are all supported, and you have this amazing network of school librarians.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to our conference. It was fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I am Lissa Kearney. I am a media and technology assistant at Toledo Elementary here in Lincoln County. We have about 340 students. It's a 6th school. It's my 5th year in the library.
Fantastic. Now, I'm curious because a lot of us have been spending our budgets, if we're lucky to have them. Can you give us an idea of what are the kinds of things you do to make sure that when you submit a purchase order, that you are buying something that your students are going to love and your teachers are going to feel is a value to put in the library?
I really just like to stress with my students that the library is for them, and I purchase books for them. So I have a book suggestion box. Also, as children are checking out books or asking questions about where to find books, if we don't have them, I make a note of it. And so if a student is asking for a book about boxes and I see that we only have a couple, then I'll make a note. We need more books about boxes. So I really just let them know that I want to know what they want to read. And if I see a hole that a student has pointed out, and then I try to fill it.
Can I ask, have your teachers ever been, instrumental in shaping the collection so that it supports their needs in the classroom?
Sure, yes. If they are asking for a book and I'm checking to see if we have it, we don't, or that goes on the list. So it's really beneficial for me to see what teachers are looking for, and then I know what to buy for them.
Okay, with that being said, and you're in an elementary school, can you give us an idea of what are some of those home runs when it comes to purchases for your collection?
Dogman is always a huge hit. Amulet, the Wings of Fire graphic novels. I'm really trying to foster a love of books and reading in our kids. We have a lot of struggling and reluctant learners, so graphic novels have really been fantastic for our students. Those are the hits right now.
Can I ask, do you feel like your teachers support this emphasis on graphic novels? I know that not everybody is a fan, for those of us who are just excited to see our kids get excited about reading, but do you feel that your teachers have recognized the value that graphic novels have in their students' reading lives?
I do. I think teachers are just happy to see kids with books in their hands and books open. I think that they know that that's what's important.
I'm so glad we got a chance to talk with today. Thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Have a great conference.
Thank you so much.
I'm Lori Lieberman. I am the teacher librarian at Lincoln High School in Portland, Oregon. It's a public high school that serves about 1,600 students.
Well, and you're the amazing person who picked me up at the airport at like 10:45 at night. I'm so grateful. Thank you. But then I go see your library, and I was absolutely just enamored. I love your space, and I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about what makes your space so special.
So we've been in our new library. This is our second year, and my Globe collection is all about the library, all around the library. It's a 2-level library, so you walk in and either take a few steps down one side or you take a ramp to the other side. Everything is new. I've got huge windows, so there's lots of light. There's soundproofing in the library, so even if there are cars or people on the street making noise, we hear none of it. I've got all sorts of fun things in the library, like giant chess, giant Jenga.
Tell us about one of your book clubs, because it really has been a success.
So I'm most famous for the Lincoln High School Romance Book Club, which came into existence in early 2020, and it has been just kind of the light of my professional existence. And at our first meeting last year, we had 100 students who showed up. It was standing room only. Every month we read a YA and an adult romance, and it's been very, very successful. So the students in that club are really interested in demystifying and destigmatizing the genre of romance.
Well, and let me ask, because, these these can be real tumultuous times for kids, and I'm just amazed that you've got that many kids who are saying, yes, I want to read about romance.
Yeah, they're fascinated by romance. They love it. They say that, they're super busy. They've got lots going on, sports, clubs, all sorts of pressure. And reading romance really gives them joy. And I think genre fiction is really good for people to read. In fact, I'm presenting at ASL in a few days about why reading genre fiction is really good for your brain. So for adults and for students, I'm a huge proponent of that. And romance is my favorite genre.
Well, and so forgive me, but, what do you do to make sure that you have adequate representation in the titles that are chosen each year for your romance club?
So the students and I talk about this a lot. And what's really interesting is we read mostly books that are, our very first year in the Romance Book Club, we read mostly male romance books. We're really interested in seeing diverse stories. My students, like myself, like reading books about people who don't look like them and are in relationships that are different than theirs. And so a lot of what we read is cisgender, heteronormative relationships. We have books that feature characters with disabilities, that are from different cultures. Very rarely read just a straight, white, male-female romance, which is really interesting to me because it's just the students don't choose those.
I love that you are giving students this opportunity. You're validating this because I'm sure that you have, there are teachers in your building who look at romance novels and consider it to be flawed.
Yes, there are definitely people in the English department mostly that love to roll their eyes at the Lincoln High School Romance Book Club. But whenever they say something slightly disparaging, my students get up and they give them the what for and let them know that romance books are real books, that they tackle all sorts of issues, that there's lots of representation in the books, unlike maybe what they're assigned to read in English class, which could be a lot of times what they're reading in English class are the same books that I read in English class. And as much as I love a dead white male, as much as an ex-person, that's not necessarily all that I want to be reading.
Lori Lieberman, you are an amazing person. I'm so glad that you and I got to drive out to this conference together. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for being so generous with your time, and I can't wait to see you in Tampa in a couple days.
Thanks, Amy. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, hi there. I'm Wendy Corneliuson. I'm the state librarian for Oregon. I run a state agency. That's kind of one of the first big things about being the state librarian in Oregon. You're also a state agency director. There are parts and pieces that go along with that. I like to describe the state library as 2 libraries and a consulting firm. So we run the Talking Book and Braille library for Oregonians with a print disability. We run the Government Services Library for state agencies and state employees. And then we have a small but mighty group in our library support division. And these amazing consultants work with the 1,600 libraries that are across the state of Oregon. These are, of course, K-12 libraries, public libraries, academic libraries, special and tribal libraries across the state.
Wow. Now, forgive me because I don't know. How would you go about supporting the school librarians? Because, I'll be honest, my opportunities to engage with my state librarians has come in the form of accessing the digital resources, which are made available to all of the taxpayers in our state. And then another thing is our state library has a travel grant, which I have benefited from twice. They have a travel grant that any librarian in the state can apply for, whether you are doing professional development in the state or outside of the state. And, I've been very, very grateful. So I'm wondering, when it comes to supporting your school librarians in the state of Oregon, what kinds of things would you expect on a regular basis? What kinds of things come across your path when it involves a school librarian?
It's a great question. And of course, in my mind, I wish we could do more. We have a school library consultant here on staff at the state library. And it's really about coordinating and making sure that school librarians have the information they need, the resources they need. And we partner strongly with the Oregon Library Association and, of course, OASL to make sure that we're really connecting the dots and have those resources available. We also connect with the Oregon Department of Education, ODE, in a lot of different ways. So there is actually an ODE representative who sits on the state library board, and we have amazing conversations and connections in that way. I'm thrilled that Governor Kotek has put early literacy as one of her 3 main priorities as governor, and very excited to make sure that libraries have a place at the table in those conversations. And for me, that's not just public libraries, and it is also making sure that school libraries have that role in that literacy framework, and making sure that there's a path and a place for school librarians to provide resources for their students. Of course, curriculum support for teachers, but that they have the tools that they need.
As a librarian in a school, oftentimes my budget is not big enough to be able to get the digital resources that I would love to be able to offer, but my state does. And I'm assuming that that's the same case in Oregon as well.
Thank you. Yes. So here in Oregon, we also do provide a wealth of digital resources through OASL. And these are resources for students. They're also training resources for librarians and for teachers as well.
Fantastic. And because somebody listening right now really wants to know, how did you get your job? Where did you, I don't know many people who grow up saying, I want to be the state librarian, but I have to imagine that there was a trajectory that followed. Are you a librarian? I mean, you went to library school?
let me get out of the way so you can see my master's degree.
Oh, there you go. See,
From
there
the
we go.
University of Tennessee at Knoxville.
Excellent.
It is in fact a requirement to be the state librarian to be a ALA accredited degreed librarian, which I am. I came to librarianship really as a second career. I've been working in museums, and I wanted to feel like I was helping people. And I wasn't quite getting that feeling working in a museum setting. So I made the decision to go to grad school. And, that took a few years to get through, working full-time and doing part-time at UT. And started working at public libraries. And it really enjoyed my time at the Nashville Public Library, working the circulation desk there in the big downtown Maine branch. And it really gave me this deep, committed sense of being able to help the people who walked in the door, giving them access to the resources they needed. Now, sometimes that was a guest card to get on the internet. Sometimes it was a library card that let them borrow one item at a time. Sometimes it was a library card that gave them full access and privileges to absolutely everything that the library offered. But being able to connect people in need with resources that would help them was deeply satisfying for me and really what I wanted to do. And my dream was to be a public library director. And so I was working at a public library and working with the electronic resources and was sort of leading that. And the Brentwood, Tennessee Public Library is like a one-branch system. And that's where my first official, capital L librarian job was at. So I got to wear a lot of different hats. I got to do a lot of different things, reference and teen services and order all the documentaries for the library. But for me, it was really that kind of combination of serials, ebooks, and really the electronic resources. And I loved digging into those and learning more about them. My boss got recruited to be the state librarian of Tennessee, Chuck Sherrill. And he'd been on the job a few months and showed back up at the Brentwood Library, which was fine. He was a patron. And was standing there at the reference desk, said, "Wendy, I need you to come work for me." I'm at work. You can't recruit me while I'm at work. The person who was running the Tennessee Electronic Library, Tell, was leaving. And he's like, I want you to consider applying for the job. And I had a few different conversations with the person who was in the role and was like, there's no way. I can't possibly. That's not my path. And then I realized the more I thought about it, actually, that is exactly what I want to do. I want people to be able to find these amazing free resources because no matter what your zip code is, you can have access. Yes, you need the internet, but you can go to the public library and get free internet. And in Tennessee, those resources are available to the entire school system, the entire academic system. And so I had the best job for those 4 years, being a Tell evangelist.
It's always interesting because, looking down the road, you can't look too far ahead. You never know. Some opportunities come up. And I will say, what I sense right now is something that I've always sensed in librarians across the board is that we are opportunistic. We do not let those chances pass us by. We oftentimes are risk takers, and we always try things when we realize there are opportunities that we could very well succeed in, and we certainly want to give it our best. Wendy, I'm so grateful that you were able to join us, and I have full faith that all those lucky librarians in Oregon are so fortunate that they have you at the helm. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
If you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. One last friendly reminder, friends, use the code UNITED to take advantage of Capstone's generous $20 discount off an order of $100 or more, and librarians who book their very first Literati Book Fair for this upcoming school year and mention the code UNITED when booking may qualify to receive a $500 gift card to Titlewave. Visit the link in today's show notes and call the Literati team to see if you qualify. The topic of our next episode will be AASL 23 and my conversation with the attendees of the American Association of School Librarians National Conference held this year in Tampa. I hope you will tune in.